The blue-tinged smoke hung thick in the air of Starfall Tavern, swirling around the diverse collection of beings that made this remote space station bar their temporary home. Captain Tay sat at a corner table, his dark eyes scanning the room, while nursing a drink that glowed faintly orange. His silver insignia, a curved fang set against a star field, marked him as leader of the Silver Fangs, mercenaries known across 3 star systems for getting impossible jobs done. Another round. Tay called to the bartender, a 6-armed creature who moved with surprising grace. The captain's 4 teammates lounged nearby, each from different worlds but united by their reputation for efficient violence. The tavern door hissed open, letting in a waft of recycled station air. A thin figure wrapped in expensive synthetic fabrics glided toward their table. The silver fangs straightened slightly. Everyone recognized the unmistakable walk of someone with credits to spend. "Captain Tay," the stranger said, voice smooth as polished glass. "My employer is very interested in your services." Tay gestured to an empty chair. "We're listening." The stranger placed a small holographic projector on the table. With a flick of slender fingers, a 3-dimensional image of a research station appeared, rotating slowly to show its layout. "Station Nova 12, the stranger explained. "Remote, isolated, currently holding research worth billions to the right buyer." The figure leaned forward. "My employer wants what's inside, intact, and without corporate alliance involvement. The payment will be substantial." Tay studied the station's defenses. "Security systems? Standard corporate protocols, nothing your team hasn't handled before." "Guards?" The stranger hesitated. "A small team. Humans." The word fell heavy on the table. Around them, conversations at nearby tables quieted momentarily, as if the mere mention of humans had dropped the temperature in the room. June, the demolitions expert, actually laughed. "From Earth? The Deathworld people?" "Yes," the stranger replied stiffly. 3 mercenaries from a neighboring table who had been eavesdropping suddenly lost interest, turning back to their drinks. Another group by the bar who had been watching the interaction actually stood and left the tavern entirely. Tay noticed the sudden shift in atmosphere. "Seems you're having recruitment problems." Other teams found the human presence concerning. Old. Han, who rarely spoke, cleared his throat. The weathered veteran had scars across half his face that still looked angry after decades of healing. "I fought alongside a human once, just one. In the Oryx conflict, he took a long drink. They don't think like us, don't fight like us either." "One primitive species?" Tay raised an eyebrow. "How many are we talking about?" 6, the stranger replied. "Scientists mainly." Jin, their stealth specialist, snorted. 6 scientists against the Silver Fangs? They're paying us this much for 6 soft targets?" Tay noticed Han's expression hadn't changed. The old veteran was still staring into his drink, lost in some memory he clearly preferred stayed buried. "Something you want to add, Han?" Tay asked. Han looked up, his scarred face serious. "Just remember, they come from a world that tried to kill them every day. Gravity that crushes most species. Weather that swings between freezing and boiling. Thousands of predators, poisons, diseases." He shrugged. "Makes them different." The team exchanged glances, taking in Han's warning. Then Pak, their weapons master, broke the tension with a laugh. 6 scientists, Pak repeated, shaking his head. "Even Deathworlders need to sleep." Tay turned back to the stranger. "We'll need 5 more specialists. I'm thinking, so for electronic countermeasures, do for additional stealth support. The Jin twins for extra firepower, and Min for medical." "Very well," the stranger nodded, sliding a data crystal across the table. "Coordinates, access codes, and half your payment. The rest comes when you secure the research data." After the stranger left, the team huddled closer over drinks. "What's got Han so spooked?" Jin whispered. "They're just humans, bipeds with soft skin and no natural weapons. They survived a death world," Han replied quietly. "Ever wonder how?" "Tools," Park said dismissively. "Technology." "Mindset," Han corrected. "They think differently. Always 3 steps ahead. Always. Assuming the worst. On their world, that's how they stayed alive." Tay studied the schematics from the data crystal. "Whatever they are, there's only 6 of them, and 10 of us. We attack during their night cycle, neutralize them while they sleep. Secure the data and we're rich. Later, as the team prepared their ship for departure, Tai found Han meticulously checking his armor's integrity. Should I be worried? Tai asked casually. Han's scarred hands didn't pause their work. A team of 26 hit a human mining operation. During the Oryx conflict, just 15 miners inside, and 4 of us walked out. Tai frowned. Then why take this job? The money's good, Han said simply. And maybe this time we'll be ready for them. As their ship broke orbit the next morning, Tai gathered his expanded team in the briefing room. The 10 mercenaries represented the finest fighters money could buy, each specialized in different aspects of combat and infiltration. Nova 12 is 18 hours away, Tai announced, studying their faces. I want everyone at peak condition when we arrive. Full equipment checks. Han will brief you on what to expect from humans. They're just scientists, the Jin twins protested in unison. Han's scarred face remained impassive. They're humans. There's no such thing as just anything with them. As the stars streaked by outside, Tai couldn't shake a growing feeling of unease. Despite his confident words, Han's warning echoed in his mind. The Silver Fangs had handled the most dangerous assignments across known space. Yet he'd never seen experienced mercenaries walk away from a job just because of the species they'd face. He pulled up files on Earth, this notorious death world that somehow produced beings other species feared. The more he read, the more he understood. The wary looks in the tavern. But it was too late now. The contract was accepted. The Silver Fangs were committed. Nova 12 waited in the darkness ahead, along with its 6 human defenders and whatever secrets they protected. The Silver Fang's ship drifted silently toward Research Station Nova 12, its engines powered down to avoid detection. Through the viewport, the station looked unremarkable, a standard research facility built into a small asteroid, spinning slowly to create artificial gravity. Scan complete, Min reported from the sensor station. Minimal power. Signatures. No defensive systems active, just as our intel suggested. Captain Tai nodded, studying the holographic display. Remember the plan. We enter through the maintenance airlock, neutralize any resistance, secure the research data, and leave before anyone knows we were here. Han checked his weapon, one final time, his scarred face expressionless. Don't underestimate them. They're 6 scientists against 10 elite mercenaries, Pak laughed, slapping his heavy armor. This will be the easiest money we've ever made. The Silver Fangs moved through space in perfect formation, magnetic boots securing them to the station's outer hull as they approached the maintenance airlock. So their tech specialist made quick work of the external controls. Too easy, so whispered as the airlock door slid open. Security systems are practically ancient. Tai signaled for Jin 1 and Jin 2 to enter first, followed by Pak and Gin. He and the others would follow once the entry point was secure. The twins disappeared into the airlock. Seconds later, Tai's comms crackled. Clear, came Jin 1's voice. No, wait, there's something. A flash of intense blue light burst from the airlock. The comms filled with static, then silence. Jin 1, Jin 2, report. Tai hissed into his comm. Nothing. Han's expression darkened. It's a trap. Before Tai could respond, a small, innocuous-looking device attached to the hull near their position began blinking red. So lunged forward, scanning it. Magnetic pulse bomb. Move! The device detonated with a silent flash. Instead of an explosion, it released an intense magnetic field that ripped through their equipment. 2 of the mercenaries, Min and June, lost their magnetic boot connection and drifted helplessly into space before emergency tethers could secure them. They knew we were coming, Tai snarled, helping drag his disabled team members back to the ship. Fall back. We need a new approach. Hours later, regrouped inside their ship, the Silver Fangs assessed their losses. Jin 1 and Jin 2 were recovered. But unconscious, their neural systems temporarily scrambled by whatever device had been waiting in the airlock. Min and June were shaken, but operational after their brief space exposure. 8 of us still combat-ready, Tai concluded. And now, they know we're here. So had hacked into the station's external cameras, displaying feeds on the ship's main screen. The mercenaries watched as humans in simple work clothes, not even proper armor, moved efficiently through the station, reinforcing doors and checking systems. 6 of them, Jin counted. Just like the intel said. Look how they move, Han pointed out. Always in pairs, always covering each other. Those aren't scientists. Those are soldiers. Tae studied their movements. Han was right. These humans moved with practiced precision. We need to know what we're up against. Do, Gin. Infiltration mission. Get inside, gather intel, capture one if possible. No killing, we need information. The 2 stealth specialists nodded, their adaptive camouflage suits shimmering as they prepared. 3 hours later, alarms blared across the station. On the monitors, the Silver Fangs watched a human staggering down a corridor, clutching a bloody arm. Behind him, Do and Gin dragged another human, clearly injured but struggling fiercely despite restraints. Airlock 3, Tae ordered, already moving. We cover their retreat. The extraction was chaotic. The injured human, Lee, according to the name tag on his torn uniform, fought like a cornered animal despite bleeding from multiple wounds. It took 4 mercenaries to subdue him and bring him aboard the ship. Lost visual on the other humans, so reported from the monitors. They've gone dark. Tae turned to his returning team. Report. Jin had a deep cut across her face. They were ready for us. Hidden barriers, improvised traps. Nothing complex, but placed exactly where we'd least expect them. She shook her head in disbelief. It's like they knew our standard infiltration patterns. Do's camouflage suit was torn and sparking in places. We got separated. I found this one trying to reroute power from a junction box. He put up one hell of a fight for a scientist. In the ship's secure room, they restrained the human to a chair. Lee was younger than Tae had expected, with short dark hair matted with blood from a head wound. Despite his injuries, his eyes remained alert, assessing each mercenary with unsettling intensity. The research data, Tae said simply. Access codes. Now. Lee's split lip curled into a smile. Nice ship. Corellian design? Fast, but the life. Support systems are always vulnerable on the port side. Puck stepped forward menacingly. Answer the question. Lee's eyes flicked to Puck, then back to Tae. How many of you are there? 10? Should have brought more. We have your station surrounded. Tae lied smoothly. Your colleagues will surrender or die. My colleagues, Lee repeated, still smiling despite the blood dripping down his chin, are probably already counting your weaknesses. He leaned forward against his restraints. You should have brought more guns. Han, watching from the doorway, met Tae's eyes with a look that clearly said, I warned you. That night, while most of the Silver Fangs rested in shifts, the ship's proximity alarms screamed to life. Security footage showed 2 access panels mysteriously open, though no intruder was visible. Check the prisoner, Tae shouted, grabbing his weapon, but they were too late. The secure room door stood open, the restraints empty and neatly placed. On the chair of the human there was no sign. Impossible, So whispered, checking the security systems. No one breached our perimeter. The codes weren't compromised. Pak's voice came urgent over the comms. Engine room. They're in the engine. Room. By the time Tai and the others arrived, Pak lay unconscious. The engine access panel was open, key components missing. Through the viewport, they watched a small figure in an improvised spacesuit drift back toward the station, carrying their engine parts. They've crippled us, Du said, voice tight with disbelief. How did they get aboard? Han examined the airlock logs. They never did. Our prisoner was never alone. They were tracking him somehow, waiting for the right moment. A transmission crackled over their comms. The station was hailing them. On screen, a calm-faced human appeared. Silver Fangs, this is Station Commander Yu. Your ship is disabled. Your injured are stable but require medical attention. We have no interest in prolonging this conflict. Tae clenched his fists. What do you want? Leave. Now. Rescue pods are still operational. We'll transmit coordinates for retrieval. And if we refuse? The human's expression didn't change. Then we continue. But I doubt you want that. Your team is down to 6 combat-ready members. We're still 6. The transmission ended, leaving the mercenaries in stunned silence. "How did they know our exact number?" Gin whispered. Han's scarred face was grim. "I told you, they think differently." That night, as the Silver Fangs prepared evacuation pods, Tay found Han staring at the station through a viewport. "You fought with them before," Tay said quietly. "In the Oryx conflict. You knew what they were capable of." Han nodded slowly. "We lost a team of 26 to 15 humans, and those were just miners." He turned to Tay, eyes haunted. "These are something else. Maybe military, maybe special forces. Either way, if we stay, we die." Tay looked back at the seemingly quiet research station. 6 humans had outmaneuvered his elite team, predicted their tactics, and disabled their ship without taking a single casualty. What are they protecting in there, he wondered aloud. What could be worth this level of defense? "Whatever it is," Han replied, "we should hope it stays in human hands." The rescue ship that answered the Silver Fang's distress call was a battered transport vessel captained by an old associate of Tai's, a smuggler named Quan, who asked few questions when the payment was good. "Looks like you met something with sharper teeth," Quan remarked, as the remaining mercenaries boarded his ship. 6 had chosen to depart for neutral territory, taking their shares and wounds with them. Only 5 remained: Tai, Han, Pak, Do, and Gin. "We're not finished," Tay said quietly, watching Nova 12 through the viewport as they pulled away. "Just regrouping." In the ship's cramped common area, Tay accessed the data archives. The team gathered around the holographic display as information about Earth flickered before them. "Average gravity 9.8 meters per second squared," Pak read. "That's nearly twice standard galactic norm." Images of Earth's surface appeared: vast oceans, towering mountains, sprawling deserts, and frozen wastelands. Temperature variations from -50 to +50 degrees, Du noted with disbelief. How does any species survive that range? The display shifted to Earth's wildlife: creatures with razor teeth, poisonous spines, massive crushing jaws. "These evolved alongside humans," Tay said, pointing to predators that made everyone but Han flinch. "Humans weren't even the apex species for most of their evolution." Han nodded grimly. "A death world doesn't just kill you, it teaches those who survive." "They're still just flesh and blood," Pak insisted, checking his sonic disruptor. "These weapons will drop anything with a nervous system, regardless of what planet it evolved on." Tay studied the station schematics they'd managed to download. "We hit the central laboratory section. That's where the research will be. Sonic weapons first to incapacitate, then we move fast before they recover." "And this time," Jin added coldly, "to no prisoners." Quan's ship docked at an abandoned mining platform 2,000 kilometers from Nova 12. Using a smaller stealth craft, the 5 mercenaries approached the station from its blind spot, where the asteroid's mass blocked sensor coverage. They breached through a maintenance conduit, moving silently through the station's outer ring. The humans appeared to have returned to normal operations, confident their warning had been heeded. "Central lab ahead," Du whispered, checking the motion scanner. "I count 4 heat signatures inside." Tay gave the signal. Pak placed sonic disruptors at strategic points around the laboratory section, each programmed to emit frequencies specifically calibrated to incapacitate human nervous systems. 3, 2, 1, Pak counted down before triggering the devices. The sonic wave was invisible but powerful enough that the mercenaries felt it even through their protective gear. Inside the lab, equipment shattered. Through the reinforced windows, they watched the humans collapse, clutching their heads in agony. "Move in," Tay ordered. The doors slid open, and the mercenaries stormed the laboratory, weapons ready. But something was wrong. The humans were already staggering back to their feet, wearing what looked like makeshift earplugs fashioned from medical putty. They prepared for this, Han realized aloud. A human female rushed back with surprising speed, wielding what appeared to be a table leg wrapped in electrical wire. Before he could react, she swung it against his helmet, the improvised weapon delivering a powerful electrical charge that shorted his suit systems. Pak dropped, convulsing. "Fall back!" Tay shouted as the other humans rose, each armed with similarly crude but effective weapons. The laboratory erupted into chaos. The humans fought with a coordination that seemed almost telepathic, covering each other's movements, creating openings and exploiting weaknesses in the mercenaries' formation. Du fired his pulse rifle, catching one human in the shoulder. The shot should have dropped him, but the human barely flinched, continuing his advance despite the smoking wound. "Why won't they stay down?" Du shouted in frustration, seconds before another human tackled him from behind. Jin moved to help, but a ceiling panel suddenly gave way above her. A human dropped down, landing on her with crushing force. They grappled briefly before the human slammed something against Gin's neck, a medical injector. Whatever it contained worked quickly. Gin collapsed within seconds. Tay fired repeatedly, trying to create space for retreat. His shots caught one human in the leg, who fell but immediately dragged himself behind a console, still returning fire with a repurposed mining laser. "Their pain tolerance is impossible," Tay gasped to Han, as they backed toward the exit. "It's like they don't even feel it." "They feel it," Han replied grimly. "They just don't care." The humans had positioned themselves between the mercenaries and their entry point. Tay noticed one human limping heavily, deliberately drawing attention, while another silently flanked their position. 9 o'clock, Tay warned, spinning to fire at the flanking human. The shot connected, but not before the human had thrown a canister that burst into blinding light. When Tay's vision cleared, Park was gone, dragged away during the momentary blindness. "We need a new exit," Han said, firing toward the lab's rear wall where a maintenance access was marked on their schematics. The 3 remaining mercenaries retreated through the new opening, sealing emergency bulkheads behind them. They could hear the humans already working to override the locks. In a maintenance junction 2 sections away, they paused to regroup. Du was bleeding from a deep cut across his chest, where a human had caught him with some kind of improvised blade. "They knew exactly what we would do," Du said through gritted teeth, as Tay applied emergency sealant to his wound. "The sonic weapons, our entry point, our retreat options, all predicted." Han checked their remaining ammunition. "They've been analyzing us from the start, learning our patterns." "But how are they this effective?" Tay demanded. "They're outnumbered, out-equipped." That one took a direct pulse hit to the shoulder and kept fighting. "Earth gravity," Han explained. "Their muscles and bones developed under crushing pressure makes them stronger than they look. And their history?" He shook his head. "Constant warfare, against nature and themselves. They've had more combat experience as a species than most others combined." A console nearby flickered to life, showing the face of the station commander. "Captain Tay," Commander Yu said calmly, "your team members are alive, injured, but receiving treatment." Tay stared at the screen. "What do you want?" "For you to understand what you're facing," Yu replied. "This doesn't have to continue. Leave the station and everyone lives." "The research data is worth millions," Tay countered. "My reputation depends on completing this contract." Yu's expression didn't change. "Your life is worth more. Ask veteran Han about the Oryx conflict. Ask what happened to the mercenaries who—" "They didn't retreat." The screen went dark. "We should go," Do said quietly, wincing as he shifted position. "Cut our losses." A distant bang echoed through the maintenance tunnels. The humans had breached the first bulkhead. "They're coming," Han warned. "Not yet," Tay insisted, checking the station schematic on his wrist display. "There's a secondary lab, 2 levels. Down. Smaller but connected to the main research network. We can still get what we came for." They moved quickly through the maintenance tunnels, descending toward the lower level. The station had grown unsettlingly quiet. "They're herding us," Han realized suddenly, "closing routes, leaving only certain paths open." "Doesn't matter if it leads us to the data," Tay replied, though uncertainty had begun to gnaw at him. They reached the secondary lab without encountering resistance, a fact that made Han visibly tense. The lab door opened without requiring force, revealing a small research space with active computer terminals. "Too easy," Han muttered, but Du was already moving toward the main terminal. "The data's here," Du confirmed, connecting a transfer device. "Downloading now." Through the lab's small viewport, Tay could see the curve of the asteroid the station was built into. Something about the angle triggered a realization. "We're in the farthest section from our entry point," he said slowly. "They've pushed us to the edge of the station." A soft hiss made all 3 mercenaries spin around. Vents in the ceiling had opened, releasing a fine mist. "Masks," Han shouted, but the gas worked with frightening speed. Du collapsed first, the transfer device dropping from his nerveless fingers. Tay felt his limbs growing heavy, his vision blurring. The last thing he saw before consciousness faded was the lab door sliding open and 3 humans entering, wearing simple breathing masks fashioned from medical supplies. "Adaptable," Tay tried to say, though he wasn't sure if the words actually left his mouth. So damned adaptable. Then darkness took him. Tay woke to the gentle hum of air recyclers. His vision cleared slowly, revealing Han's weathered face looking down at him. They were wedged inside a narrow maintenance shaft, dimly lit by emergency lighting strips. The acrid smell of burnt circuitry hung in the air. "How long was I out?" Tay whispered, his throat raw from the gas. "About 3 hours," Han replied, passing him a water container. "I dragged you out while they were securing Du. Emergency stimulant to counter the sedative." He tapped a small injector on his belt. "Always keep one for situations like this." Tay took a careful sip, memories flooding back. "Du? Captured. It's just you and me now." The reality of their situation sank in. From 10 elite mercenaries to just 2, beaten at every turn by 6 humans with improvised weapons and station equipment. "We need to get back to Quan's ship," Tay said, already calculating their odds of reaching the emergency extraction point. Han shook his head. "They'll be watching all escape routes. We need to understand what we're facing first." Tay leaned back against the cool metal of the shaft wall. "Then explain it to me. You've fought them before." Han was silent for a long moment, his scarred face half hidden in shadow. When he finally spoke, his voice was lower than usual. "It was 15 years ago. Oryx system. Rich mining operation on the 4th moon. Humans had set up a small colony. 15. Miners with basic equipment." Han took a deep breath. "Our employer wanted the moon's mineral rights, said to clear out the human presence, make it look like an accident. Your team was qualified?" A bitter smile crossed Han's face. 26 of us, veterans all. Top-grade weapons, tactical combat suits, gunships." He paused. "We thought it would be easy." Tay listened silently as Han continued. "We disabled their communications first. Standard procedure. But when we landed, they were ready, not panicked, not surprised, just ready." Han's eyes seemed to look beyond the cramped shaft, seeing something from long ago. They'd turned that mining colony into a death trap overnight. How? Mining explosives rigged in patterns we'd never encountered. Tools converted to weapons. Environmental systems weaponized. They used everything. Han's voice grew strained. "We lost 8 people in the first 10 minutes, another 5 trying to flank their main building." Tay frowned. "But superior numbers meant nothing." Han cut him off. "Because we were fighting their kind of battle without knowing it. See, most spacefaring species evolved as apex predators, top of our food chains. When we fight like predators, go for the quick kill, the decisive victory." Han tapped his chest. "My people evolved from pack hunters, yours from ambush predators. Nearly every mercenary in that bar came from a species that evolved to kill efficiently. And humans didn't?" Han leaned forward. "Humans weren't apex predators. They were prey animals that refused to accept their place. They evolved, surrounded by faster, stronger predators. No claws, no fangs, physically weaker than most threats they faced. Then how did they survive? 3 things," Han held up fingers. "Intelligence to make tools, cooperation to amplify their strength, and the most terrifying trait of all, endurance." A distant clang echoed through the station. Both mercenaries tensed, but the sound wasn't repeated. "Endurance?" Tay prompted when they were sure they were still hidden. "Humans evolved as persistence hunters," Han explained. "They couldn't outfight their prey, so they would simply outlast it, follow it for days, never letting it rest, never letting it recover, hour after hour, day after day, until the target collapsed from exhaustion." Tay felt a chill despite the shaft's warmth. "You're saying?" "I'm saying they never fought us like predators fight." Han's voice dropped to a whisper. "They fought us like humans hunt. They studied us, tracked us, wore us down, used our own instincts against us." Han pulled out a small data pad, bringing up the station's security feed that he'd somehow tapped into. The screens showed humans moving methodically through the station's corridors, checking every possible hiding place with careful precision. "Look at them," Han said. "They're not defending anymore, they're hunting us." Tay watched as a human examined a ventilation grate, testing it carefully before moving on. Their movements were unhurried but thorough. In the Oryx conflict, Tay asked quietly, "How did it end?" Han's face darkened. "We retreated after losing 17, called for extraction. The humans let the survivors leave." "They let you go? Why?" "Their leader told me something I never forgot. He said, 'We're miners, not killers. Remember that when you tell this story.'" Han looked down at his scarred hands. "I did remember. Never took another contract against humans." Tay studied the security feeds again. The humans had split into pairs, each team systematically working through different station sections. "They're herding us," Tay realized. "Closing off sections, driving us where they want us to go." "Exactly." Han nodded grimly. "And look at their faces." Tay looked closer. Despite the grainy feed, he could see the humans' expressions were calm, focused. Not the faces of people fighting for survival, but of professionals executing a carefully planned operation. "They're military," Tay concluded. "Special forces, maybe." "Maybe," Han agreed. "Or maybe all humans are just built this way. On their world, everything wants to kill you. Weather, animals, even the ground beneath your feet can suddenly open up or burst into flame. They call them natural disasters, but for humans, it's just Tuesday." Another sound echoed through the station, closer this time. Metal against metal. "They're checking the maintenance shafts," Han whispered, checking his weapon. "We need to move." "Where?" "They know every hiding place better than we do." Han's scarred face showed a hint of respect. "That's what makes them dangerous. They don't just adapt to their environment, they make the environment adapt to them. This station wasn't designed to be a fortress, but they've turned it into one." On the datapad, they watched as two humans approached a junction not far from their position. One carried what looked like a sensor cobbled together from medical equipment. The other held something that had once been a cutting tool, now modified into a makeshift weapon. "They're improvising," Tay observed, "using whatever they can find." "That's what Deathworlders do," Han replied. "When every day is survival, anything becomes a tool or a weapon." He gestured to the approaching humans. "See how they move? Always checking their surroundings, never exposing themselves unnecessarily. Natural caution, ingrained by evolution." Tay felt a new emotion rising beneath his anger and frustration, a grudging admiration. "No wonder the other teams backed out. The smart ones always do," Han said, gathering his equipment. "Now, we need to be smart too." "There's still two of us," Tay said, checking his own weapon. "We can still complete this contract." Han gave him a long look. "You still don't understand. We were never going to win this. From the moment they knew we were coming, they've been in control. The question isn't whether we can beat them. Then what is it? Whether they'll let us leave alive when this is over." On the datapad screen, the humans with the sensor stopped suddenly. One tapped the device, then pointed directly toward their hiding place. "They've found us," Han whispered. Tay gripped his weapon tighter. "Then let's make this interesting." The old veteran almost smiled. "Now you're thinking like a human." Tay and Han crawled rapidly through the narrow maintenance shaft, the clanging sounds of pursuit growing closer behind them. The cool metal scraped against their armor as they pushed forward, searching for an exit that might give them an advantage. "There," Han pointed to a junction ahead. "Access hatch to the cargo bay. Wide open space, multiple exits. Or a perfect kill box," Tay countered, but they had little choice. Han reached the hatch first, listening intently before carefully twisting the manual release. The hatch swung open to reveal the dimly lit expanse of the station's main cargo area. Stacks of containers created a maze-like pattern across the floor. "Perfect for an ambush," Tay whispered, as they dropped silently to the floor and took cover behind the nearest container. "Theirs or ours?" Han replied grimly. They moved quietly between the containers, weapons ready. The cargo bay seemed deserted, but years of combat experience told both mercenaries they weren't alone. The prickling sensation of being watched made Tay's grip tighten on his blaster. Central command console. Tay nodded toward a raised platform at the far end. If we can access it, we might be able to open an evacuation route. Han studied the open space they would need to cross. Too exposed, a voice called out from somewhere among the containers. Captain Tay, veteran Han, we know you're here. Tay recognized the calm, measured voice of Commander Sun. He signaled to Han, pointing to the source of the sound, a container stack to their right. Your team members are unharmed, Sun continued. Even now they're being treated in our medical bay. Tay couldn't help but scoff. After you hunted them down? After they invaded our station, Sun corrected, her voice moving slightly. She was circling their position. After they attempted to steal research that could save countless lives. Tay and Han used the distraction to shift position, working their way closer to the command console. Tay caught a glimpse of movement between containers, a shadow moving. With deliberate care. You fought well, Tay called out, hoping to keep Sun talking while they maneuvered. Few opponents have ever cost the Silver Fang so dearly. This isn't about fighting well, Sun replied. It's about understanding what matters, what's worth protecting. Han suddenly froze, raising his hand in warning. Ahead, barely visible in the shadows, stood a human male. He held no weapon, but his stance suggested he was ready for anything. Another shadow moved to their left. They were being surrounded. No more running, Sun's voice came from directly behind them. Tay and Han spun around, weapons raised, to find Commander Sun, standing calmly just meters away. She wore simple station attire, no armor, carrying only what appeared to be a medical injector in one hand.